I'm so honored that I get to be here tonight and to visit with you. So I'm going to speak for a little bit. We're going to give you a rare treat of something that we're working on, and hopefully you get a kick out of it. We sure have gotten one. It is part of our campaign and how we're running this. But I am going to. Oh, okay. There, better. Can y'all hear me? See me? Let me over here. There, everybody. All right. I'm going to give you a little bit my life story. Not really. I'll give you a little glimpses of it. All right. I am Ethel Maharg, and I am born and raised New Mexican. I was born and raised in Cuba, New Mexico, where I'm one of 7 children born to the son of a German Jewish immigrant. And my dad, Augustine Eichwald, was my maiden name. He served as mayor of the village of Cuba, and his dad, Aaron, served as senator. So I have a lot of service in my family. But I never thought about it as politics. I always just thought about it as service because I lived in a small community, way smaller than this one. So we did everything that had to get done in a small community. We just were part of that. We served in every capacity. My husband was part of the volunteer fire department. My daughter was the junior fire chief, and that's what we did. And when it was Bible school in the summer, my kids just knew that they just had to help. Right, so that's what our life was about. It was serving. So I went on to be the mayor of the village of Cuba, and I served there for 10 years. And when I left the village of Cuba, I left them with $1.9 million in the bank. And the economic development that I left them is still there, 16 years later. It is still serving that community. So I have a legacy that has outlived the time that I was there. So I'm very proud of that, and every time I go back, I get to see that. It started out being kids working, now parents are working in the same places that their parents parents are working where the kids started. So that in itself qualifies me as I am the only gubernatorial candidate that has executive branch experience. And all the others are fine folks, but I am the only one that does have executive branch experience, and you're gonna need that in the governor's office. And I just wanted to let you know that I'm going to make you the same promise that I made this gentleman when he asked me what I would promise him when I ran for the village. He says, "What do you promise me?" And I said, "Nothing." I said, "The only thing that I can promise you is that I will do the very best job that I can." And as you see by my accomplishments, that's exactly what I did. I served my community well, and I left them in a much better place than when I found them. I am also currently, let me tell you about I've been married 38 years to Dean. Yes, he's wonderful. Yeah, God bless him. He puts up with me. I always say that he's always told me, "Honey, you go do what you got to do, and I will keep you in clean underwear." Because I do a lot of running around, especially these days, folks. And so I thank God for him. And we have 3 children and 6 grandchildren. And really my favorite title of any is Nani. My grandchildren call me Nani. So they're the joy of my life. And like I said, I'm also currently the executive director of Right to Life Committee of New Mexico, where I have been serving the state this is a decade now, fighting the fight for life. And it has been the hardest job I think I've ever had, is to let people know how important life is. Because, as you see, they haven't valued it too much. And our state, unfortunately, is known as the abortion capital of the world, which is something I intend to eradicate. That is my only promise. That is, if I do nothing else, I will do that. I will see to it that abortion ends in our state, because it is. Our legislators have worked hard. We have a few here, and I know it's sad, but we need to come up and do something, because that is the stain that is killing this state. That is the curse over our land. And if you go biblically, when Cain killed Abel, the land was cursed, and from that it could bear nothing. So I'm not here to give you a Bible study, but I'm just letting you know that that's where we're at right now, and we cannot rise above that until we get rid of that right there. So I want you all to know that I'm not seeking an office. I've had an office. I have a job. I could do all those things. I'm seeking an opportunity to serve you as my fellow New Mexicans. I can do the job and I want to serve you. I want you to know that I'm a constitutional candidate. I believe in the Constitution and what made this country great, which is biblical principles. And I will never, those are the things I want you to know, is I will never, never, ever lock you out of your schools and your churches, because that was just wrong. And that I can't believe that we were even allowed to do that for an entire year until the Supreme Court came down and brought that up. I will never allow the senseless murder of innocent children in the womb. Never. And now we have assisted suicide. Like I said, my mission is life. And a lot of people say that she's a one-issue candidate. And I say, well, what's your point? Because, folks, we've been granted unalienable rights by who? Our Creator, not the government. It is life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. They were in that order for a reason. Life. Without life, the other two really don't matter, right? So absolutely, I'm committed to life because I know that it affects every single part of our life. The other thing I will not do is I will never challenge you. This gentleman asked me about your right to bear arms. And people always ask me, well, how do you feel about guns? And I said, we have lots of them. And I ask my husband all the time, I said, well, how many guns do you have to have? And he says, well, how many pairs of shoes do you have? So you guys are like that, right? So we have a lot. We have guns, but right? And you know, we have hunting country all around. All our state is hunting country, right? But especially where I'm from, there's a lot of hunting going on there. But that's not what the Second Amendment was for. Second Amendment was put there in place to protect the First Amendment as a right to free speech. And they try to take that away from us, and they continue to try to take it away from us. In fact, all of the filming that we're doing right now, probably going to end up on alternative speeches, alternative places, because YouTube will shut us down, right? Because we talk about guns and vaccines and all these wonderful things that they don't want us to say. But the guns were put in place to protect us. Our free speech and our right to assemble, our right to freely assemble and go to church and worship as we like. I will always, always defend our police. When I was mayor of the village, I had a council that opposed me on every turn, and I mean every turn. At one time, I lost my chief, and I was trying to get a chief and bring him in for interviews, and my council would walk out. Their decorum was wonderful. So one day I finally said, all right, fine. I know the law, and the law states that in the absence of a chief, the mayor will serve as chief. Hand me the keys to the chief's car. That night, I left that village in the police chief's car with lights and siren blaring. And I drove that thing for about a month until they got sick of me. You see, folks, I'm not afraid to take the bull by the horns and say, I'm going to get this job done whether you like it or not, because I was not going to let my community be without police care. And the other thing that I did was I formed really good relationships, and I'll tell you about that in a little bit. With Sandoval County, I was never, ever without police coverage because I had formed good relationships with them. So I will never defund the police. How dumb is that? How stupid is that? That you're going to say, what they want to do is send social workers in there? You find a whole bunch of dead people there, all right, in a domestic violence situation. You know, that is, I don't know about you guys, but I see a lot of really stupid things going on in our nation, in our state these days. So that was one of them. The other thing is borders. People ask me about borders. Yes, we need to build the wall, and we need to build it really good and high. You know, they say that good fences make for good neighbors. Mm-hmm. Monica, can I have you bring me some water, please? I forgot my good gum. So, anyway, so yes, we need to secure the border. We need to do it in a way that's safe, so that people there are safe, because they're. Thank you, they are.
Because that's a dangerous place down at the border, is it not? You know, people there are being inundated, they're bringing in COVID, they're bringing in all kinds of drugs and everything else. There's more fentanyl now than anything. It's the most dangerous drug that we have, so we need to secure the borders. So all of those things that probably every candidate tells you about. I understand the role of the governor, because I've been in a similar situation, but I want you to know this, that the role of the governor is to protect you from government. That's what the founding fathers said, even in the Constitution. They said that above all, they did find it on biblical principles and said that above all, our hearts are evil, right? And so they knew that there would come a day when the government would try to take away your rights. So the role of the governor is to protect you from government. Also, her role is to provide infrastructure so that you might be able to pursue your happiness. It is also to build good relationships with across here, all the legislators, and then also up and down so that you could have with the president, so that you could get the things that you need. Or fight the president, like we see DeSantis doing, right? Whenever things are unconstitutional, it is our right to protect the people from government. So I understand that completely, and I'm prepared to do that. And so after this, I'm going to give you guys an opportunity to ask me questions, but I want you to know this, that I am not one to quit. And many of you that went to the convention will know that I'm the candidate that got the least amount of votes. And I said, looky there, I'm already setting records. And you know what? I had to go and chase after signatures to get back on the ballot. And I needed 769, and I didn't get 769. I got 1,285 signatures. But you know what, folks? I don't quit. I don't back down. I don't live in adversity like I didn't get any votes. Okay. That was one part. So we went to the other. I thought, okay, 1,000 people got to hear me speak. I want to see what the rest of the 2 million people in the state have to say. So that's why I'm here today. And so I'm one, I will continue to fight. Like I said, I've been fighting for a decade for life. I'm going to fight for the next decade for you all, for the life of this state, because I love my state. You see, last year my daughter left this state because of the things that were going on in the state, and it broke my heart that they had to leave. I'm sick and tired of our kids leaving. She said, Mom, just come with me. She went to Texas. Great place to be, and I'm like, I'm not going. God didn't call me to Texas, He called me here, New Mexico. She said, but you're on a sinking ship. And I said, so I'll go down swinging. And that's the way I roll, folks. You all need to know that I will fight to the death. Whatever it is I have to do, I'm going to fight for you. I'm going to fight for this state because I love my state. I'm born and raised here. I don't want to go to Texas. I like Texas, but it's too darn wet. I lived there before for a little time. I went to work. It's nice, it's beautiful, it's green, but you pay for that green. I love my state. I love my blue skies. I love all of you all. And I want to stay here and serve you. So I always close with this. I want you to know this. One of the greatest things, we have a lot of issues in our state, a lot. We have crime, we have so many things that we have problems with. But doing them the traditional way is not going to work. In fact, let me tell you what the real problem is. Right here. You see, we turned away from God. We turn away from God. We turn our backs from God. We say it's okay to murder children in the womb and now help people die on the other side. They're depressed. I know how that goes, see? And we've forgotten. We don't abide by our Constitution. We're allowing it to be trampled on. And we've forgotten that this country was built on biblical principles. And if you think that throwing money at every situation is going to help, it's not. This is the only thing that's going to get us back. Folks, we are at a place right now in history that we need to get back to the things that made this country great, and that is get back to God. Get back to the things that made this country great. God. And I want you to know, too, we're a place in history where every time that the country rose up again, it was because of a spiritual awakening. We're there. We are there right now. It's time that we get up, and we get to our churches and tell our priests, our pastors, and everybody, come on, we need you to participate. And that's exactly what I'm doing. I'm going to churches, I'm speaking everywhere that they'll let me so that we can bring the state back. So I would really appreciate your vote on June 7th. Just if you have any questions, I'd be glad to answer them. And then we have, we've been having a lot of fun. I have Robert over there, my team. Thank God for Annette and Monica back there. And we've been fighting this together, but we've done some unconventional strategies for winning this ticket, and I hope you have some fun with it. We sure have, because I'm not afraid to be silly. I'm like King David, he danced before everybody, and they called him a fool. Well, ditto. Okay, so it doesn't bother me. So I don't know if you want to do questions first, or if you want to watch a little bit. What would you guys like? Video. Video, okay. I think this first one is on farming and ranching.
Get prepared.
Are we on? Hey, howdy, folks! How about all of you cowboys, cowgirls, farmers and ranchers? You know what? This governor candidate is a farmer. Well, I'm a farm girl. I'm a girl that was born and raised on a ranch and a farm in northern New Mexico. We ate off the land. We butchered our own cattle. We took care of our gardens. We took care of, we're the ones, we grew our eggs. We didn't grow our eggs. Oops. We grew our chickens, and the chickens brought us eggs. You want to stop this? You want to keep going? Okay, so, all kidding aside, well, not really kidding. Really, I was raised on a farm. We played with dirt. We climbed trees. I tell you what, folks, we raised chickens, we raised cows, we raised pigs, we butchered. We lived off the land. And you know what? Our poor farmers and ranchers are being penalized. Do you know that in the eastern part of the state, we are number 5 producer of cheese in the nation? Folks, ring a bell. This is for the cows, right? I'm telling you guys, we owe them a debt of gratitude. They're the ones that are feeding us. They're bringing us our steak, our meat, our hamburger, whatever you want to call it, and they're also feeding us with our milk and cheese production of the entire state. Let's give them a hand. I spoke to some of them just the other day, and they told me, you know what? We feel that nobody pays attention to us. You know what? I'm going to pay attention to you, I promise, because I've lived that life. I understand it, and I'm going to see to it that you get the help that you need. Yeehaw! I go, you know the rules. I say, hand it over. Mrs. Maharg, come on. And I'm like, no, you know the rules, hand it over. So this one kid and he could have been just joking. He says, well, just hit her. And I said, make my day. And the kid's just like, ugh, backed up. They backed off, and they gave me their Walkman. So then, all of a sudden, the next day, I got my police chief, and I says, come in, I want you to talk to these kids about threatening a teacher and the ramifications of that. So you know what? He came in and told them that it was just as deadly as saying that there was a bomb on an airplane. He said they had to see to it that they took those kids out. So those kids got the fear of God in them that day, and then guess what? I got called into the principal's office. Darn!
Because how dare I incite this into these kids? And I thought, you think I'm gonna have them walk all over me? I go, you got another thing coming, because this girl don't play like that. And you know what the kids used to say? Mrs. Maharg, why are you so mean? I says, because I love ya. And so they did. They respected me in the beginning. A lot of them didn't like me. In fact, I'll venture to say, one of them I know for sure hated me. He hated me until one day what I did is I said, you're in welding, aren't you? And he says, yes, ma'am. I said, you know what? Would you build me a horse feeder? I need a horse feeder for my horses so they can hold the hay. Would you do that? I'll pay for the materials. I'll talk to your instructor and see if he will go ahead and do that. Would you do that? Okay. He built me two of the most beautiful horse feeders you could ever imagine. From that day forward, I was his best friend. Why? Why was I his best friend? Because I had found the value in him. In him. At that moment in time, he knew that he had something, and he had the ability to even make money, potentially, in there. Later on, I petitioned the school to see about having trades. Well, that went by the wayside. But you see, you have to be able to teach kids in a way that they need to learn. You need to love these kids enough to put yourself out there. I used to go get checkbooks. I taught math. I went to the credit union and got checkbooks and checkbook the registers so that they would learn how to do that. I would help them set goals financially. I would do all these things for them. But I didn't take any of their nonsense, not one bit. And when parents would come in, they say, well, why are my kids flunking? I said, because I go, look, let me tell you something. I'm going to tell you the same thing I tell these kids. I tell them, you know what? I don't give A's and I don't give F's. I just report the results. And that's exactly what I did. Your child isn't performing. So the problem isn't with me, it's with him. But you know what? I'll be glad to have an after school date with them to go ahead and sit there and tutor them. If that's okay with you. You'll have to come get them because they can't get on that bus because they're going to be with me. So I made certain that those kids learn. So see, there's a two-edged sword here. You have parents, come on, help those teachers. Help those teachers help the kids. And teachers, for heaven's sakes, you better be teaching. You better be doing what you were hired to do. And police officers, thank you for supporting us teachers when we need you. Because that officer came in there and he told them what the law was. And so I was so grateful for that officer that came in. School administration, well, they slapped my hand and saw to it that I didn't work till the next year. And I was cool with that. I knew I was there on a temporary basis, and I was going to do all that I could to enrich those kids' life. So I encourage you to get involved. Do everything that you can to help these kids excel. And for heaven's sakes, if they don't want to go to college, don't send them. Not all kids are meant for college. In fact, many of them will excel in their traits. Like I said, this young man did welding. Some can be barbers, hairstylists. They can be electricians, plumbers. Have you ever paid one lately? They're pretty expensive. I think they're making a pretty darn good living. You know what? And they are not in debt financially from the colleges. So, you know, you go for maybe a year, journeyman, master, whatever it is that you're going to do, you maybe have a little bit of debt. But it's this much compared to that much in college. You know, I'm not against college, but not everybody has to go there. And I believe that us New Mexicans, we have the ability to work with our hands and make our living with our hands. In fact, I did. I used to do hair. I was a barber. And I also have a business administration degree, but I always made more money as a barber than my business degree. So you see, folks, it isn't always necessary to go to college or send your kids to college. Don't get in debt. Don't get your kids in debt. Help them to be the very best that they can be. Teachers, keep doing the work that you're doing. And if you're not, I'm asking you, I'm pleading with you to do the job that you were hired to do. Officers, help our teachers. So officers, we so appreciate you putting your lives on the line every single day for each and every one of you. So thank you so much. Maharg for governor. And so I appreciate your vote, June 7th, 2022.
porque cantando se alegra felicidad. I forgot the song. Oh, Dios mío, se me olvidó la canción. Vamos otra vez a empezar esta canción. Ay, 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 canta y no llores, porque cantando se alegra, cielito lindo las. Oh, again I forgot. Pero ¿sabes qué? Que tenemos que ser alegre en este estado. Vamos a cambiar este estado por lo mejor. Muchas gracias. Ay, 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 ay. There you go. You know, folks, I'm so sick and tired of hearing politicians say, you know, we're just the worst economy, we're just the worst schools, we're just the worst everything that we are in the nation. Yet, my question is, what are you going to do about it? You think that throwing money at it is going to help. You know what? Throwing money at things doesn't do a cotton-picking thing. Because you see, when I was mayor of the village of Cuba, I didn't do this. I went in to a community that was very, very oppressed financially, and instead of throwing money at the problem, I created money. When I left that community, I brought in $1.9 million. I left them with that surplus. And the economic development that I created is still there to this day, bringing jobs. When I took over Right to Life Committee of New Mexico, I took them from where they were, and I had a 600% increase, and I didn't do this. I didn't continue to throw money at things. I reined things in, and I saw to it that we were fiscally conservative, that we were frugal in our spending, and I didn't continue to throw money at that. You see, folks, everybody thinks that money is the problem. Money's not the problem. Leadership is the problem. When you spend money like a drunken sailor, I hate to tell you, you ain't gonna have anything in those coffers. That's exactly what has happened in the last 4 years. Our governor has drained everything, and she has gone and bought her Wuhan Bing, and she has paid for this lawsuit, and she has paid for that lawsuit, and then she's gone and spent money that she had no business spending. The legislature, even after they smacked her hands, she still kept spending money. This governor ain't gonna do that. You see, I believe in being fiscally responsible and taking care of what really matters for our state. I know that we have problems, but I'm not one to complain about them. I'm like saying, let's roll up our sleeves and get it done. And you know what? Get rid of that money bag. It ain't helping us. Vote for Ethel Maharg for governor. Just shows, we mix a little bit of humor along with talking about the issues so that make people, think about some of the things that are going on. Muchas gracias. Ay, 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 ay.